1, 2, 3, 4. Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you when you meet mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you and you mean mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender. I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath.
everybody. Welcome to Illinois. Rebuild Illinois. I almost said Illinois something else. Never mind. It is Rebuild Illinois' Town Hall number 25. It is March 27th. We got some interesting topics to cover tonight. We're going to be covering the SCOTUS grilling that is currently going on. Ben's going to cover that with us today, and Teresa is going to spend some time covering what's happening with all of the objections that might have been filed. I think that all closes tomorrow, but she's going to give you all the details on that. But should be a decent show. Hope you stick around. Make sure to tell everybody that we're live, and we'll see you in about 1 minute.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Rebuild Illinois, where we get to talk about how we, the people, take charge and make Illinois a great place to live again.
Hey, everyone. How you doing? Throwing you right back in. I think I have you muted. I'm unmuting everybody right now. Sorry about that. A little of a bit
Okay.
day.
There we go.
Dock my pay again.
That's
How are we doing?
10% pay cut.
That's right. That's right. It's you know, it all goes back on your taxes anyway.
Yeah. Well.
So, yeah, a lot of stuff happening. We're down a lot of petitions, a lot of interesting things happened since we last talked. We had a lot of challengers drop their objections. Is that what we call it? Filed objections? Because I'm still learning along with everybody else as well.
They filed objections to other people's petitions. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and how many? Well, we got a lot. You're going to cover that, but did we have more than we expected, or is it about par for the course? You think?
It's really hard to tell at this point because I think the last day of filing for the objections is tomorrow. And I'll discuss why we're not seeing anywhere close to what we normally would see.
Interesting.
And there's definitely reasons for that.
That's good. Well, I'm all ears. I want to learn. So, and then Ben's going to cover some definitions of dictionary words that have been kind of a hot topic of the past week, I believe. So, I don't know.
Well,
do you have a
that depends on what the
definition
is.
Yeah. We've got a lot of definitions that are being tossed around, and people don't think that they're, well, you know what? We can't really define anything because we're not dictionaries.
Oh, yeah. How do I know if it's raining?
Yeah, you're not a weather.
My favorite is maybe I shouldn't have to pay my bills because I'm not a banker. I shouldn't be handling the money.
Oh, the memes have been so rich. Oh, we lost Ben.
No.
So, but yeah, we expect. Oh, he's got to zoom it out. That's beautiful, wonderful. He wants to make us all the same size.
Yeah, sorry guys, my
What
face.
what happened to your cameraman?
Well, now you're smaller than us.
It's all right. It's all right. He's got room. He's got room to grow. But I'm going to hand it over to Ben. He's going to take on that definition for us all before we get into local news. We're going to cover a little bit of the bigger picture, 30,000 foot. Ben, it's all you to define for us. What's a woman, Ben? Can you describe that for me?
Well, why don't we look at what our talented appointee has said about that. So that's that clip I sent you. I think a lot of people have seen it, but let's see what Ms. Brown Jackson has to say about what is a woman.
This is what caused all the stir. Yeah, let's hear it.
Woman.
I'll back it up.
Can you provide a definition for the word woman?
Can I provide a definition?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I can't.
You can't?
Not in
Okay.
this context.
So you
I'm not a
believe the
biologist.
meaning of the word woman is so unclear and controversial that you can't give me a definition?
Senator, in my work as
not a
judge,
biologist.
what I do is I address disputes. If there's a dispute about a definition, people make arguments, and I look at the law and I decide. So I'm not.
The fact that you can't give me a straight answer about something as fundamental as what a woman is underscores the dangers of the kind of progressive education that we are hearing about.
Thank you, USA Today.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you like this video,
No, remove. It's all you. Oh, and add.
So let's talk about that a little bit. There are a couple issues going around over this, and just let me start by saying that what's going on is that the Senate Judiciary Committee, led by our own illustrious Dick Durbin, began hearings on affirmation of Supreme Court appointee Ketanji Brown Jackson. And I'll stop the reading there for a minute, but so there are a couple things that
Scott says it's not Jeopardy, Scott.
There you go. For a moment.
So there are three things that are a question here. One is, critical race theory.
Right.
The second one here is, the question really revolves around, transgender participation in sports and transgender.
Who's going to rule on these things? Really, is what we're talking about moving forward. So
exactly. So the questions here are they're centered on, if you will, judicial philosophy, and they're trying to get her to expose, not necessarily in a bad way, but expose her judicial philosophy on issues of the day. And she's been well trained to avoid answering those types of questions.
Well trained to avoid answers. Well, there's a lot of precedents for avoiding answers that we were talking about earlier as well, weren't we? I mean, we just
we were talking about this kind of dodging, or dodging being cornered goes back to kind of Bill Clinton in his deposition.
What is the definition of is?
Yeah.
Right?
Depends on what your definition of the word is.
Is, which is a difficult thing to say.
However, we kind of allowed this shenanigan to sneak in where, we can't hold people accountable to a definition anymore.
Right.
And that's I think it's a sad note.
It's interesting. Just on a side note, when working with biblical studies, we talk about twisting scriptures in the same way and twisting words, and I think it's where we get that word "wicked," which means to twist. So, I mean, there might be a relation there.
Just a little tidbit. I just tried to Google what is the legal definition of a woman, and all I got was what is the legal definition of, and the first thing that popped up in the when they're trying to do the predictive thing, where they're trying to predict what you're saying, and it was, what is the legal definition of a woman? So apparently
it's trending.
We're
educating the world on what a woman is, thanks to this questioning.
It's very interesting that she wants to be on the U.S. Supreme Court, and there is a legal definition of a woman, and it's in the most enlarged sense. The word signifies all females of the human species, and more specifically,
treacherous ground. I don't know if you should be that. We might get flagged for disinformation right now. You might want to hold your horses, Teresa.
From legal-dictionary.thefreedictionary.com.
Right.
So I am citing my source. There you go, and it says it means all such females who have arrived at the age of puberty.
Right.
So can be single, married, and it goes into a lot of other things. But there's actually legal definitions, and she wants to be on the U.S. Supreme Court, and she doesn't even know what the legal definition of a woman is.
Right.
It's
interesting. I think Ben's trying to get he's training a cameraman right now. at this very moment. I'm going to bring him up, Senator. I'm sorry, I don't mean to embarrass you. I think this is really fascinating. I enjoy this. While we're
Yeah,
defining,
I'm trying to get my son.
that's all right. I'm going to take a
without-
couple of comments right now. Boa's with us.
Okay.
Good to have you, buddy. And Scott's talking about doublespeak as a tactic. I think that's actually what we're dealing with. I mean, we saw that when we were seeing the confirmation hearing of who is it that's
Let me see the screen.
looks like it's a man in a wig. Help me out here, because I think it is, and we're not
a
talking
little bit more.
a little bit more. Zoom up. Oh,
There we go.
oh, not
Thank you,
bad. Look at this framed in.
Much better.
Now,
that was my son. He's helped out from time to time, and so I had him come in and
He did a great job.
fix a couple things in my office real quick.
I'm starting to feel a little behind the times here, since both of you have at least one child that can help you with your stuff. Maybe someone who's 13 needs to start
Learning
pulling
how
the
to run
weight
the
around here?
cameras. Yeah, well, if you want technology fixed, you got to make sure that you have a teenager in the house.
Yep.
I hear
Definitely.
that's the case, and it's not the case in my house. I guess I'm a teenager, which that fits. So
Yeah. Why don't we get back on track now?
let's do it. Sorry, I got another video clip we can pull up.
Well, what they do is with this, I want to say with this speech and changing the definitions, they're trying to keep us all in this state of anxiety,
Right.
because we don't have any solid ground
Mm-hmm.
to anchor us into a reality, so they can keep altering the reality
Right.
and changing everything up.
It's Orson Welles.
Yes.
It's just like Lemaster brought up a moment ago there. It's doublespeak as a tactic. We were basically getting spoiler
is.
alerts. We were getting spoiler alerts in 1984. This was not fiction. Let's make 1984 fiction again, Ben. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, 1984 was a warning of what could be, and now,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately,
Here we are.
we're starting to see things happen that really points in that direction. I mean, look at what China is doing with surveilling their citizens.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, they're beta
you know,
testing
the
what they're going to
thought
bring over.
police. Yeah, and yeah, there's talk of trying to do the same thing here in America, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
So next clip we have I forget who.
so let's go on. Yeah, we're gonna
I
peel
want people to
back
go to
a
jail
little bit more.
we
Go
have
ahead.
two clips from Senator Graham actually.
Yeah, so I want to play the first one. Play the whole thing.
Okay.
I want people to go to jail who do that because you're feeding the beast. We have a bill here, the Earn It Act, that would allow the victims who are on the internet over and over again to sue the media companies that provide these images. We have a fundamental differences of how you deter crime. I think the best way you deter crime when it comes to child pornography is you lower the bloom on anybody who goes onto the internet and pulls out these images for their pleasure.
Senator, every person in all of these charts and documents, I sent to jail because
cut
I
it off
know
here.
how serious this crime is.
What was that, Ben?
Okay, so we can cut that one at that point. Is Senator Lindsey Graham kind of lays out, if you will, the background of this, the seriousness of what's going on in this. And so, like I was saying before, there are three things really that are floating around with regard to the I want to say
Definition of
affirmation.
language.
Yeah. You know, the consent hearings, the affirmation hearings at this point are about, one is definition of a woman. The other one is critical race theory, which I don't, of the three, that's the one I give the least concern about. Because essentially I didn't really see anything that made me be concerned about her thoughts on that at this time. I'm not saying it's not out there. I'm just saying I haven't seen it. Whereas this thing about definitions, we've definitely seen that. And yeah, it's funny, but it's not. It's funny, but it's not.
It's this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ben. It's this concept of we want to we go through these confirmation hearings to basically get some discovery on what someone's ethics and standards are before
Right.
we confirm them to define those ethics and standards for the rest of our country.
And more.
And when you go ahead.
Sorry, and we need to understand that all law is based on moral principle. There's no such thing as law without it. It doesn't exist. Laws are not based on convenience, saying, well, it's convenient to have a law against speeding. No, it isn't. It's not convenient for me when I'm trying to get somewhere as fast as possible. Laws are not, against murder aren't convenient. If there's somebody you really hate, well, it's not convenient for you to have that law. So convenience is a bad basis for law. It has to be moral judgment at the end of the day. And there's no other framework that works. So we want to know that the judges understand that and that they have a proper moral framework from which to judge appropriately. Not only that, we want to know that they're technically proficient and that they are willing to obey the standards, if you will, or uphold the standards that are up there. And that's where we get to the third point is talk about child pornography and how Jackson has treated child pornography. And so that's where Lindsey Graham is going to, suggesting just how serious of a matter it is, and especially in the day now of the information age, how easy it is to get. So that's that first one. Let's pull up
the next clip. Yep, let's roll it.
Is that in every case, I looked at the recommendations of not only the government, but also the probation office, the defendant, the record, the evidence. I took into account the seriousness of the offense. And
by the way, one of the striking things in Chase, the prosecutor comes and
cut it.
Yep.
Okay, so there is you see what she's saying is, she has looked at these as serious cases, and she's looked at the precedents and the requirements, and she's considered the victims of the case and the.
She did not say that. I was listening for that. She did not say anything about the victims.
Well, she does say in another clip.
Oh, okay.
So I'm combining what she said, but she does consider that. However, if you see that board behind her, and if you go to Muro, I put that board that is behind Senator Cruz. I put a copy of that in Muro. Can you pull that up?
Yep, pulling it up right now.
Just give us a moment while they're pulling that up.
So, child pornography, one of the most disgusting possible crimes out there, is one that I think everybody on both sides takes very seriously. But we can get to the point, starting the question to the left on this. So, but understand, in these Senate confirmation hearings, that's the proper term. Senate confirmation hearings, liberals have attacked the character of conservative appointees. That's not what's happening right now with this liberal appointee. They're not attacking her character. They're looking at her record, and her record on child pornography is what you see here. She actually ruled on 10 cases in the last 2 years, which is the only. She's been a an appellate court judge for 2 years. Okay. And in 2 years, she heard 10 cases. 2 of those cases are sealed, so there's no data on those. The other 8 are in that chart. And I'm just going to run through them real quick and tell you what those cases were. Okay. Yep. In United States v. Hess, which is the top one, you're looking at distribution of 6 pictures, but officers also found over 600 images of child pornography including images of sexual acts being performed on prepubescent children. In the United States v. Nickerson, that defendant traveled across state lines to engage in illicit sexual conduct with a minor and also was in possession of child pornography.
Was that sentence that it's showing there, was that a combined sentence for, I would imagine, the sexual acts against the child plus the pornography? Okay. So that wasn't just the sentence just for the pornography?
No, that was everything. Okay, so next one, United States v. Chazen. And I'll talk about this chart in a minute, okay? United States v. Chazen, the offender had 48 files of child pornography, which he had accessed over a period of years. So 48 files collected over a number of years. In United States v. Cooper, the convict had over 600 images and videos, with many posted on a public blog. So not only collection, but distribution as well. And by the way, distribution, here's the way distribution works, okay? And let me tell you my background on this is, we said before, I was a senior legal officer from the Marine Corps, not a lawyer, but a senior legal officer. A lot of legal training, and in fact, I had to rule on a number of cases. And when you have distribution, it doesn't have to be like for sale or something like that. Just showing your friend from your own computer that video would be considered distribution, okay? So in this case, it was posted to a public blog, but in other cases, it could be, hey, somebody showed, subject X showed subject Y this video. That's distribution. Okay, so next one. United States v. Downs. The perpetrator posted multiple images to an anonymous instant message app, including an image of a child under 5 years old. In U.S. v. Hawkins, the perpetrator was 18 years old. He had pictures of boys as young as 8 being sexually assaulted and raped. Now, he had no previous offenses to this. And yet Jackson said she was also persuaded by some of the defense arguments, as well as her own review of the record, including that Hawkins had not produced any of the videos or taken any of the pictures, but exchanged ones he had found online, which also includes distribution, by the way, because he posted some of those. And so those statements are telling of Hawkins, and this is why I wanted to report on this. Not Hawkins, I'm sorry, Jackson, where she's talking about, the age and, that he, that he hadn't produced any of them. So, United States v. Savage, the next one. Savage was convicted of travel with intent to engage in illicit sexual conduct. He also admitted to transporting child porn. And the last one, U.S. v. Stewart. Stewart was found in possession of 6,700 images. And Jackson herself called it egregious from the bench. So let's pull up that chart now, and I'm gonna pull it up on my own computer.
Now, if you look at this, the government had their recommendation. Oh, pull that back up.
Yep.
And then there's the sentencing guideline, and then what the sentence that was actually imposed. Every single one of those is at the absolute minimum or below.
Yeah, and that was one thing that really struck me. So in Hess, if you remember, Hess was the one who, in that case, was the one 6 pictures and found over 600 images. Hess, the government recommended 60 months, and she gave 60 months, and that was the absolute mandatory minimum. And you got to remember where she's at. she's in one of the most liberal districts in the United States. So the liberal prosecutor in this case recommended 60 months, which if you look at the sentencing guidelines and
yeah, I mean, just
let me
looking
talk
at
about
look at the
sentencing
last three,
guidelines.
they're way below.
Yeah, so let's talk about the sentencing guidelines. The reason why sentencing guidelines exist is they're created by a panel and they're passed by Congress. So Congress has approved these sentencing guidelines based on an expert panel of judges who look at the cases to determine what the proper length ought to be. And normally the way it works, and again, I'm speaking from experience, is you want to stick within the guidelines. If it's a first offense, certainly put it at the lower end of the spectrum, okay? Especially if there's not much to it. You put it at the lower end of the spectrum. But you also are going to hear, facts in extenuation or, help me out, Teresa. It's extenuating and mitigating circumstances. That's it. So, for example,
aggravating
or aggravating, yeah.
Mitigating means to lessen.
Right.
Aggravating means to increase. So if we were talking like a murder, or an assault, or a battery, hitting someone with a mouse is a battery. Hitting, shooting a gun towards someone, or shooting someone but they don't die, that's aggravated because of it's deadly. And there's all kinds of things that can be aggravating: the age of the victim, the age of the perpetrator, all different kinds of things. Mental capacity.
Right.
Well, look, and we can keep it within the realm of this discussion with child pornography. So, there are plenty of 20-year-olds who have 17-year-old girlfriends. That's not unheard of. Okay. Well, the problem is the 20-year-old is an adult by law and the 17-year-old is a minor. So the 17-year-old sends nude photos of herself over her cell phone to her boyfriend. The boyfriend is now in possession of child pornography. That would end up being a fact in mitigation, in that they're going to look at that and consider whether he ought to really be charged for possession in that case. Considering the relationship, they may even throw it out entirely, or they may just give it the absolute minimum, that mandatory minimum in that case. But really, that is outside the norm. The norm is what those guidelines represent. Okay, so you're expected to stay in those guidelines, though you are given a level of discretion. Okay.
Right.
And
her discretion in general shows a pattern of leaning way south of the minimum.
Oh, she's way outside the guidelines. She's way outside.
Should we
everything.
go back to Cruz's statement on this and kind of pick up there?
Well, yeah. 1 second here. Okay. I want to play that kind of last. I do want to add that there's a point here where Senator Durbin is trying to stick up for Jackson a little bit, and he commented about a 2012 sentencing commission that unanimously recommended lower sentencing for non-production child pornography. Okay, so they recommended it. Okay, now here's the thing, though. It's clear that Congress rejected the commission's recommendations 10 years ago because the recommendations didn't become part of the guidelines. It's not like it takes 10 years to look at recommendations and either approve them or reject them. Obviously, they rejected them. So the guidelines remain what they are. And yet, if we go back to what case was that?
Was it Hawkins?
Hawkins, she talks about that very thing where he was not a producer, he was only a consumer. Okay, clearly she hasn't, she's taking these recommendations into account. They have nothing to do with law at this point. because they've been rejected. They are not part of the canon of law at this time. Maybe in the future, but not now. So what does she do? She hands out an absolutely ridiculously low sentence. In this case, Hawkins, the guideline should have been 97 months to 121 months. And despite what she says about it being, he's young, first offense, some of the videos he had, this is the one I said the perpetrator had videos of.
Was this the sickening and egregious? Was this the
that was
egregious quote
savage.
that you had sent earlier?
Savage.
And
now her comment about child pornography in general was the, if you could throw that up there, where she said that child pornography is a sickening and egregious crime. She is the one who said that. Nobody put those words into her mouth. This is when she was on the bench in the last 2 years. She said this, and yet she turns around and gives this young man 3 months for something that that includes violent sexual acts against children as young as 8.
Wow.
So
now I don't understand if this is the problem that I keep having. If those are the guidelines and that's the range, those are guidelines for the judges. But then the judges are turning around and saying, forget about those recommendations. So what's the point of having recommendations if they're still going to, or sentencing guidelines, if they're going to go dramatically outside those? What's the point?
Yeah. And that's the point. The guidelines are established to give a standard range across all courtrooms across the United States. So in this case, is the federal crimes we're talking about, and so in this case, somebody tried in Washington State or Texas or Washington D.C. are going to receive a like sentence, maybe not the same exact sentence, but within these standards, if you will. That's the whole point of a sentencing guideline. So somebody doesn't get 50 years for possession where somebody else gets 3 months. Instead, there's this, what a panel agreed was appropriate, and Congress approved the guidelines. That's the whole point about them. And you're right on. I think it's a fair question of senators to be asking Jackson, you're doing this with some very serious offenses where you're giving these absolutely ridiculously low sentences. They're well outside of the guidelines. How can you consider yourself to be fit to be a Supreme Court justice in this case?
Well,
and I personally have to say no. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, and the whole reason why, another reason why we have the sentencing guidelines is because we used to complain about sentencing disparity, which is what you were just talking about. Disparity means one person gets 50 years, another person gets 3 months. We need to have something more uniform so it's fair and just, because our system is supposed to be based on fairness and justice. And actually, I wrote a paper and delivered a speech on this when I was in college, because my degree is in criminal justice. This was one of the areas that we dealt with. And it's really astounding when these judges are not reined into these guidelines that are set up by the legislature, whether it's in the federal courts. You're talking about those laws were made by Congress. If you're talking in the state court, then it's the state legislature, and here in Illinois, that would be the Illinois General Assembly. But that's why we elect these people to set these type of guidelines, and then the judges throw them out. So my question is, if they're not going to abide by the sentencing guidelines that are already established, then what are we paying our legislatures for to make laws that don't matter?
Right. I wouldn't put it on the legislators
we
themselves in this case.
yeah,
It's
they're
I'd
they're
put it
doing a
on the
job.
judges.
And,
Hmm.
and what more can we as people do? We vote for people to go and make these laws, and then the judges turn around and they throw it all out. So the judges do not have as much, the people do not have as much oversight over the judges as we do our legislators. Not quite as much.
But the legislators have oversight over the judges, and that is a fair question. For example, Congress can actually impeach any federal judge. Unfortunately, they've only impeached 8 in history. Okay, in the history of the United States, 8 judges have been impeached, and that includes judges that have shown up to work drunk, that have not been impeached. Shown up to work drunk, not shown up at all, are the incompetent for illness or mental deficiency, and still are not impeached from their position. That perhaps is something that we ought to really be concerned about.
Sure.
And maybe we should bring back that process of impeaching judges, because it looks like these judges, once they make it to the bench, they act like they're dictators, and that no one's going to do anything. What are you going to do? I'm a judge.
Exactly.
I have a free ticket here.
Yeah.
So go ahead and play that last clip.
With one click, you can receive, you can distribute tens of thousands. You can be doing this for 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, you are looking at 30, 40, 50 years in prison.
Good. Good.
I understand.
Absolutely
Senator,
good. I hope you are. Good.
Allow her to finish, please.
I hope you go to jail for 50 years if you're on the internet trolling for images of children and sexual exploitation. So you don't think that's a bad thing? I think that's a horrible thing.
That's not what the witness said, and she should be allowed to answer this question once and for all.
Senator, all I'm trying to explain is that our sentencing system, the system that Congress has created, the system that the Sentencing Commission is the steward of, is a rational one. It's a system that is designed to help judges do justice in these terrible circumstances by eliminating unwarranted disputes.
Can I have a question for her. If she thinks that 15 minutes of bad judgment is not worthy of 50 years in prison, I would like her to answer this.
This was an earlier conversation, wasn't it?
Exactly how long does she think that it takes?
About that very thing.
Exactly how long
does it take to commit a crime?
No, exactly how long does it take a person who is just like you and I are, we're just sitting here having a conversation, and go from that to having completed a first-degree murder?
Yep.
Most circumstances, it is in a matter of a few minutes, less than 5.
Right.
So I want to know what the heck she's talking about, that nobody should have to go to prison for 15 minutes of bad behavior.
You don't regulate it by the amount of time it takes to perform the crime. Yeah. Yeah.
It is about the seriousness.
Why we're talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is why we're talking about this Supreme Court nominee. And hey, Teresa, we both agree with you 100%.
100%.
The length of time that you're involved in committing a crime has nothing to do with the whole idea of the sentence. The sentence is based on the severity of the crime. That's why a murder, which can take 30 seconds or even a blink of an eye for vehicular manslaughter, you can go to jail for well over a decade for vehicular manslaughter, and it was like that, and you just made one split bad decision for 1 second, and it just cost you the next 10, 15 years of your life. We judge that as appropriate because the severity the circumstance. Now, for her to make this argument, again, this is the whole reason we are talking about this case is, this nomination process is, and if you noticed, the conservative senators are not doing what the liberal senators did. Remember what they did to Brett Kavanaugh? How they attacked his character?
Oh.
On and on and on.
Decades
conservative, the conservative senators are not doing that here. They're going after her record,
right?
Which is what they should do. Her record is supposed to be questioned. Her judicial philosophy is supposed to be questioned. That is part of it. So this is all fair game.
This would be a good point for me to bring up. I want to play the clip from Ted Cruz, since we had that chart fresh in our minds, and see what he was talking about, and also gives you a chance to maybe refresh your connection. Looks like you're kind of dropping in and out a little bit, so I'm going to play that clip full screen here.
Okay.
And says this is the prosecutor's argument at this point, and the prosecutor says, "I understand from my experience before Your Honor, Your Honor's objection, policy objections to the 2G2.
I'm actually going to back this up at the beginning for context.
Senator, I've said what I'm going to say about these cases. No one case can stand in for a judge's entire record.
Okay, but I'm discussing every one of the cases. So if you're
understand
not
that.
going to explain it,
Senator, would you please let her respond?
No, not if she's not going to answer my
Well, if
question.
you're just going to give a speech, then you shouldn't engage in
and
questioning.
you are not taking my time. If you want to filibuster, you're welcome to do so, but do it
I
on your
would
own
at least
time.
give you an opportunity to speak, and you should give her an opportunity to respond.
If she wants to answer the question, I asked her why
Please
she
allow
sentenced,
her to answer the
I
question.
asked her why she sentenced Chazen to 28 months when
Durbin.
comparable defendants, in
Well,
her
let's hear
own
the
words,
answer.
were sentenced to substantially higher, and she said she's not going to answer. Did you? I would welcome your
I didn't
answer,
hear that.
please.
Senator, I didn't say I'm not going to answer.
Okay, well
I
then
said
please
my
tell us
answer.
in this case, Chazen, why did you sentence him to just 28 months?
Senator, you're looking at the record. I don't have the record here. What I will say is that in every
Right behind him.
case, I looked at the recommendations of not only the government, but also the probation office, the defendant, the record, the evidence. I took into account the seriousness of the offense. And
By the way, one of the
ruled.
striking things in Chazen, the prosecutor comes in front of you and says, this is the prosecutor's argument at this point, and the prosecutor says, I understand from my experience before Your Honor, Your Honor's objection, policy objections to the 2G2.2 sentencing guidelines. And he goes on to say, however, in this case in particular, the 4-point specific offense characteristic is justified because it contains sadomasochistic images of infants and toddlers. I'm trying to understand how you see someone that possesses images of infants and toddlers being sexually violated, and you sentence them to 64% below what the prosecutor is asking for. You don't provide a justification other than a generic concern that the guidelines are too high. You don't provide a justification as required by statute. So I'm asking you to take the opportunity to explain to this committee and the American people why in 100% of the cases you have people with vile crimes, and you have language saying they're vile crimes, but then you sentence them to very, very low sentences. And why do you consistently 100% of the time choose to do that?
Senator, no one case can stand in for a judge's entire sentencing record. I've sentenced more
Again,
than
she says
100
that same
people who
thing.
have 8 or
Yeah, it's the same dodge that you get when you deal with when we had Levine's certification. What do we? What is it called? The
Confirmation
Sorry,
hearing?
couldn't come up with the right
Yeah.
word. And
I
you have this
did the same
blanket
thing
lawyered up
earlier.
response. Yeah, I would love to get this point
Well,
out.
but
You have this one response. I was saying earlier, we have these confirmation hearings so that we find out exactly where the ethical standards of these people are. And then when you have this lawyered up cookie cutter response that basically is a non-response, you're showing that you have no regard for us wanting to have any kind of concern. You're they're canned answers. Exactly. Thank you so much. We've seen it's a pattern. It's Levine. It's you're right. It started back with Clinton. What's the definition of this? And it's that lawyered up canned response that basically there should be a law against it.
You know what? At this point, when he's talking about sadomasochist and the age that he mentioned, which I'm not going to because people could hear me.
Yeah.
Right.
So when we are talking about that, and she's giving these I'm sorry, I cannot possibly comprehend any crime more vile, more disgusting
Anything to
than that.
A minor.
And if this is her character, not only does she not need to be on the Supreme Court, she needs to be disbarred. And someone needs to be investigating her because she's a little bit too sympathetic.
Let's circle this back to take my favorite quote out of and throw it in circulation here.
Sorry, I'm a little bit.
No. Remember, she's not there for no reason. She's there as this is what we suggest. This is what Biden is suggesting. Why would Biden suggest this?
Because
if he
he's one of them.
Well, or he's got family members involved with similar things. Right?
Personally, I say with the son doing what he did, I think the apple probably didn't fall far from that tree.
Well, and this does come on the heel of the Maxwell trial as well. I mean, all this stuff is not backroom topics as much as the media wants to bury these topics. This is something that we've been trying to bring to light and trying to bring to justice for years. This is like a backpedal move by those who are in opposition to justice being served, I think. So remember, this is Biden's pick.
And remember that this is, if we cannot defend the children, the victims in these type of cases, because here's the thing, the people that possess it, I get it. I do. I get her argument. I don't agree with it, but I understand her argument. They were just in possession. They're not hurting children. The children have already been hurt. You need to go after the people who are doing this. Well, you know what? There's people out there that wouldn't even make or produce this type of material and harm these children if there was not a demand for it.
Right.
You have to go after.
I would go a bit further than that. Okay. You got to understand where our serial killers and rapists come from. Ted Bundy, he did an interview where he talked about the beginnings of, his descent into becoming a serial killer. He said he got started in pornography, consuming pornography.
All these things all come back to standards. Oh, God. So we could go 3 hours.
And it starts there. It starts at child porn, and it ultimately leads to child predation.
Yeah.
If you remove the child pornography, you don't get rid of all the child predators, but you get rid of a whole bunch of them. They never have a chance to become that. They remain healthy and whole. But
we have spent way too much time in this country and in this world trying to normalize deviance, trying to normalize things that are just that lead to this type of end. And we ignore I think standards to our own peril. That's what our culture has been doing, and I don't even know.
This is actually feeding into something. This is feeding into something because we have there are groups out there, something about man boy love association or something like that. That's trying to say
love is love. Love is love.
That this is a sexual orientation. and it's
Yeah.
only going to be. It is a slippery slope. We are
Well
we are
over the
at the
line.
bottom. We cannot. At this point, I don't know if we can get much lower. We need to stand up and say no to all of this, and that if you're not willing to throw the book at people who are engaging in this in one way or another,
Yeah. Let's get
then
this video
you
banned
should
on
not
Facebook
be
immediately.
the normal. You should not be dictating the moral direction of this country.
Exactly.
Period. She
This is
needs to be
supposed
off
to be
the bench.
part of the
She needs to be
conversation.
off the bench.
As much as I agree with you, and as much as this really stings me, and I think that we need to pay attention to it. We need to move on with the show.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
We spent a lot
it's
of
all
time
right.
on this. Hey, that's
Sorry, we have
okay.
two dads.
Guys.
We have two
It's a
dads.
very
Between
important
the two of
issue.
us,
Yeah.
between the two of us, we have the three of us, we have well over a dozen children. So, and I'm a redheaded mom. So
We're gonna get
this
hot.
is a really hot topic for all of us. So
Yeah.
sorry for the
I know
viewers
what
if it
I
gets a
would
little
do
heated.
I know what I would do if I found out that someone did this to one of my children. I would be going to prison. They wouldn't.
Right.
They'd be going 6 feet under. So
Scott
it's
had
just
a comment here. Says language designed for plausible deniability from responsibility leads into the normalization of heinous crimes.
And that's what this
Yep.
is. This is heinous.
Yep.
Some of these are extremely heinous.
Yep. So, wow. So,
And I am a
not
little
confirmed
concerned
by
that
us
this
three. Unfortunately, we're not on that board. That's why we need elected representation. Unfortunately, some of the people in Illinois thought Durbin would be a good representative of them and of our state and
Too
fighting.
bad Mark Curran's not the one leading that right now.
Yeah.
That would have been a
you gotta
far better
understand.
choice.
Yeah, I'm going to play this real quick. I know we're going to we're beating a dead horse to a certain extent, but I put this on here. And when this is playing, I'm going to play this back. Here we sit with her making a defense against Cruz, right? And the person that keeps interrupting, the person that keeps trying to jump down, only we have a representative from Texas that's representing more of the conservatives here in Illinois than our own elected official Durbin.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, what we've been trying to educate all of you on is how you change that. You change that by changing who's in those seats. So if you've ever wondered why the electoral process matters, these guys are confirming or denying this judge. And these are people.
Now,
that
I hate to
bump.
say this. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Go for it.
This nomination is going to end up on the floor for a vote.
Senator, I've said what I
And
wanted
it's going
say.
to be very, very close. The one thing I can say, hopefully, is that she gets filibustered out. Okay. They don't have the power to stop the filibuster. Otherwise, the only thing that would stop her nomination is a majority vote. And this year, you have a chance to send another senator instead of Tammy Duckworth, who is going to certainly vote to appoint her or affirm her confirmation.
Exactly.
So you have a choice to change one of the seats in the Senate this time, and it's not just enough for you to vote for them. If you have heard nothing from us, understand that voting is very important. It's your civic duty, but if we're going to win, if we're going to make a true impact, we've got to get beyond the ballot box. We've got to support these candidates. Right. We've got to run ourselves instead of assuming that somebody else is going to do it.
Yeah, if
so
you fail to pay
like,
attention, you get people like Durbin in seats that are basically going to confirm this and rubber stamp it. So,
right, exactly.
Here's our chance.
So should we move on to?
So speaking of our election issues, I'm going to segue over to Teresa's section.
Let's move on.
Yeah. Speaking of the House, did you want to cover this one little anomaly that you were mentioning earlier?
Just throwing it out there that Matt Gaetz has announced yesterday at the Trump rally that he plans to nominate President Donald J. Trump for Speaker of the House. Now, this would set up a really weird dynamic, okay? First of all, every person who has ever been speaker has been a member of Congress, but the Constitution does not make that a requirement. So
I think it would be
technically,
entertaining.
Christian could be Speaker of the House.
Hey, you know what? I'll put my hat in.
But
I'll do that.
But no offense to Christian, I think Ben would be the better choice because
probably.
he understands, government.
Yeah, I would definitely
law
be
and all
like
that.
hitting the books on a regular, just kind of.
Oh, Christian would be calling Ben.
Right, exactly.
So it is possible. It's not out of the realm of possibility. The likelihood of it, I don't know. It seems like all Democrats and a big chunk of Republicans are not too thrilled with Trump, mainly because we have a lot of rhinos.
Yeah.
So that would be a very hard sell for the members of the House. But depending on how this election turns out,
right,
that could change the makeup if we have more MAGA people elected to the U.S. House of Representatives. That could sway that. If we have more America First candidates going in, being elected in. So, again, remember, as someone else said, I wonder who that was, elections do have consequences. I wonder who said that.
I don't know.
Who said that? Was it one of our former presidents?
It might have been number 45.
May have been two back.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't 45.
Oh, was it?
No, it was someone from Illinois.
Oh, shit. Mr. B.O. Body odor himself. Got it.
So technically it could it could happen, but until we see this election kind of pan out a little bit better. Although I do see that there's a lot of polling that's coming in that's looking really good, even in Democrat districts. From my understanding, a lot of Democrat areas are sliding from safe Democrat to toss-ups.
Right.
So there's a lot of Democrats scared, running scared right now. Do we want to go ahead and do we really want to talk about the petition challenges, or do we want to go ahead and hold that off for next week? Because technically we still have until tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll keep it a short thing. Why don't you do a quick update on what the current status is? How many? Even if you're going off the top of your head, I'd be curious how many you've had.
For statewide, about half.
Because you're the official bookkeeper of all things election for us. So
Illinois elections,
yeah.
So about half of our candidates running for governor and lieutenant governor. So we have.
Is that normal? 17. Is that high? From your recollection?
I would expect every single petition being challenged.
Okay.
Because the governorship is kind of important.
A little bit, and we've
never
have we had this many people run before that you recall? Bill?
Not on the Republican side.
Yeah.
We covered that last week. No, there's many more people running, and normally what the tactic is you only challenge those you're willing to pay for the challenge for, because usually you hand this off to a group, you pay a group to, like a law office or something to run through these. So it can be expensive, and so you tend to only challenge the ones that are worth the effort. Okay, so for example, Democrats didn't think that I had a chance to win the seat I did, despite the fact that I got as many votes as I ended up getting. They didn't challenge me because it's always been held by Democrats. Don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
The time around, they may challenge me,
And one of the things with this, the reason why we're not seeing a whole lot of challenges yet is because challenges, unlike when you file your petition, a lot of times you want to get it filed that first day, because it may change where your position is on the ballot, whether you're first, second, or third, especially if you have a primary challenger. However, with these petition challenges, it's a different story. We had, what were the dates? Was it the 7th through the 14th?
I'm not sure. Let me look.
The 7th to the 14th were the petition submission days.
Okay. So I think they have one more day for the petition challenge. So so if they're not filed by tomorrow would be the last day, I think.
So next
You
week
know
we'll
what?
have a
I'm
full
beginning to
report
wonder.
on all the challenges at that point, because you're
Well,
expecting a lot tomorrow in comparison to what's been
actually,
leading
it's
up.
supposed to be 1 week. So actually, are we supposed to be done with petition challenges, Ben? Isn't it just 1 week after the last day of filing?
No.
Am I wrong on my dates? Did I lose
Yeah,
a week
I
somewhere?
think
I'll have to double check that and get back to you guys.
Yeah, I think his internet's jacking
But
up
yeah,
again.
you really
they're
want
from the
to.
Illinois State Board of Elections.
Yeah. So
But
if it's
we'll have a
not,
definitive list of what the challenges and challengers are. We'll go through all of that, and
Yeah.
I don't know how
Right.
much we can dig in until those. How long do they have to like? I mean, that's
this can
limit for
take a
when they
couple
can get
months.
filed, but they can take a long time to prove out one way or
Right.
another, right?
Well, it's a little hard based on my experience because my experience was the last cycle, and the
Sure.
last cycle was we were doing this in December, so we were also doing this right at Christmas. So you also have so things may have been delayed because of Christmas and New Year's and offices being closed and all that.
Right.
But I remember there were some of them that were still fighting it out in court in February, even though the primary was in March. Now, this year, our primary is in June, right?
Okay. Yeah, I believe
So,
so.
so we do have a couple of months, but it's going to be a lot of those cases end up going
But no
into
new
court.
ones will be popping up after tomorrow. Tomorrow we should be
No.
done with it all.
Tomorrow should be the last if it's now that I'm beginning to wonder now.
Yeah.
But as it stands right now, we have only one petition challenge for Republican and one for Democrat for Secretary of State. One challenge for a Republican for comptroller, a challenge for a Republican in the for treasurer. Only one Senate candidate is actually being challenged as of right now. There are some for the U.S. House, but it's not very many, and except for the first district.
Wow.
The first district has a lot. Let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 out of the 25 candidates have been challenged.
Wow.
And then Illinois Senate, it's very sporadic. The Illinois House, not very many either. I would say these numbers are extremely low.
All right, so really you're expecting a little bit of a tide of those to come in tomorrow, and we'll really have a little better understanding. And next town hall that we do, Town Hall 26, we'll have all of the reports on who's being challenged, and we can start disseminating that from there.
Unless my my dates were wrong and it's actually already done.
Yeah, I watched
for some
a
reason, I
couple
was
on
thinking
the.
they still had.
I watched a couple on the Edgar County Watchdogs website. They had a couple of videos of some of the challengers on their petitions. Quite entertaining on Facebook. Maybe I'll get those shared off into our Facebook group as well. But interesting to see how things happen downstate.
Yeah, I'm like really like upset with myself because I'm thinking that I may have actually had the dates wrong and it may be done and over with.
Well, we will we'll get the details and we'll get back to everybody.
Yeah. Now I'm seriously questioning myself at this point because I thought it was 7 days after the last date of filing, so that would have been the 21st.
Who knows?
Right?
I'm saying someone knows. I out of the three of us, I defer to you on those dates. But I'll help you figure it out, and we'll have a full report coming up next week. And in the meantime, I would like you to take the time to share out this if you're still watching. I know we still have a few people hanging on. It's been a little longer show today. Got into the weeds on.
I think I can give an update.
Oh, you do have it.
Because nearly as a matter of fact, so far I'm scrolling through all these objections. Every single one of them was filed on the 21st. Oh, wait. and the 18th and the 15th. So yes, the 21st was the last day, so we don't have very
21st.
many. So
Yeah.
I think we're doing pretty good. But
So
we can
very
give more of
you're
an
saying
update.
generally kind of light.
Yeah, I would say this is light.
Okay. Well, like I was saying earlier, just above Ben's head, we do have all of our links on our link tree. It's in a QR code you can scan with your phone, any other smart device you have. Please make sure that you follow us. We are doing our best to try and keep you up to date on what's happening with this election cycle. If you want to go old school and just go to our website, you can do that right here at rebuildillinois.org, or you can drop us a line at rebuildillinois.org at Gmail. As long as they allow us to have an email account with them, we'll use it. And in general, most of our interactions happen in our Telegram group. Make sure to throw Telegram on your devices and jump into the community. It is still growing and thriving, even though all we do is fight spam half the time. Amazing that you guys still. It's a good community. We'd love to have you a part of it if you're not already there. So make sure to join us. And next week we'll come back. We'll go over all of what Teresa and I have been trying to get our head wrapped around those last 10 minutes. And we'll have hopefully a really, should I say, we're going to do a pretty chart. I can do another pretty chart if we have to.
Yeah, we can do another chart, and actually, I can even explain what the ballot positions are.
Cool, great.
Just one thing, if you are interested in wanting to know the process on how bills actually pass through the legislature, let us know. I actually have a lesson that I can give at a future time on that.
Cool.
It is.
I would love to see that.
How the sausage is being made.
Well,
all right.
Tammy, thank you for being with us. Scott, thanks for being with us. Nilda, thanks for being with us. You're all wonderful. We look forward to seeing you all next week, and we're gonna wrap tonight and get back to work on putting other content together for you in the upcoming week. Take care, everybody. You're all wonderful. Remember, you're essential for rebuilding Illinois. And out.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alive and well, I'm wide awake. Won't take your brand, I'm not your slave. You serve your God, Lord of the flies. I pity you when you meet mine. Lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes. Your bloody mouth unsatisfied. God sees the trap you set for me. He'll not be mocked, I will be free. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Your fear will not make me behave. I won't march in your masked parade. Your hollow threats won't shut me up. I won't bow down, enough's enough. You say you'll give us what we need, as if you own the air we breathe. Stand up 100 million strong. Thought we'd lie down, well you thought wrong. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender, never surrender. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. We will not bend, we will not break. How dare you touch what God gave? We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down. We'll never give in, never give up, never back down, never surrender. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus with me every step. Just keep going, keep on going. Walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Just keep going, keep on going. Jesus closer than my breath. Just keep going, keep on going. Just keep going. Never surrender.